Veteran head coach Chuck Waddington for Angelo State once again was grit. A gritty win for his team. And that goes back to the regionals as well when they won the South Central region for the first time since 2016. They have gritted their way to a 32-2 season, and they have won 20 in a row. Matt Hoffman said earlier today, I didn't say much during intermission. I didn't say much to the team post-match. He's just letting them play right now, Debbie, and they're playing well.
And sometimes that's the best way to go. If your leadership, if their team led, that's the best time as a coach to just step back and let them go.
San Francisco State, the 7 seed, upset Central Oklahoma in the quarterfinals. They will serve first. Angelo State wearing the home whites as the 3 seed. Tip kill from the right side for a freshman. That is Sydney Thornton, the freshman for the Bells. Thornton and Carter awfully good in the quarterfinals. Chuck Waddington told us, he said those two players, they're just not playing like freshmen. No fear, especially on a big stage. Adeline Ortman serves it to the Gators of San Francisco State. Could be a big day for Tamaya Wilson. She gets a touch. Wilson a little quiet in the quarterfinals, Debbie, but she's having a fine year.
She was. They really, because Goodrich was firing on all cylinders, they didn't use her that much. She only had a couple of kills. But I think if the focus for the Angelo defense is on Goodrich, you're going to see more of Wilson today.
Do you feel like today we're going to see both teams serve it a little tougher here in the semifinals?
Yeah, because yesterday when either of these teams was out of system, they're just not the same. And I think if there's one team that's a little better out of system, it might be San Francisco State. But neither of them want to play that game. They want to be in system. Gators
had only 1 ace, 5 service errors in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, 2 aces for Angelo State. They had 8 service errors in their win. Bells go ahead by a pair, 3-1. The freshmen continue to play well. There's a lot of older players for Angelo State, but you could argue that the freshmen at times kind of carried Angelo State in moments yesterday. Free ball by Brianna DeBoer. Backside for Carter. Dug out by Wilson. Goodrich swings. A lot of out-of-system kills in the quarterfinals for Goodrich. Torres was outstanding at set 1 yesterday. She tools the block. She's averaging almost 4 kills per set.
When she struggled yesterday was when Gannon put up that very imposing block. And for a couple of sets, she had to kind of figure it out. She's much better in system, but I tell you, that grit piece, it starts with her.
Slide play for Garza. Over dig by Kali Enax. Back to Garza, and Garza slams it in. Side out for San Francisco State.
She was really good yesterday, and if they're in system, they're going to use her a lot. That slide in particular, very effective yesterday.
Debbie, going back to that blocking piece for Angelo State on offense, Gannon was the best blocking team here, statistically. They were good blocking yesterday. San Francisco State blocks it well, but probably not as well as Gannon, right?
You look statistically, and they're not even in the top 50 in the country in blocks. So they're going to have to at least get some slows. You know, remember, blocking is in the stat category when you block it down. There are other ways to be a great blocking team. So if they can get some tags on the net, slow things down for defensive opportunities, I think that would still favor their side.
Second kill for Garza, who had 13 in the quarterfinals. Great serve by Asia Arbol, her 49th ace of the year. And already San Francisco State able to match their ace total from the quarterfinals, which was a 5-set match.
Well, this is where I think they can be a disruptor and put some pressure on Angelo State. They are a very tough serving team.
Pass by Ortman. Swing by Carter from the right side. Left side Torres off the block. Handled by Brianna DeBoer. That's Isaac. Shot across by Parrish. Back corner to Enax. Left-handed tip out of the middle. Sydney Thornton, the mid-air adjustment. Her second kill.
Angelo State already using the middle early. I think that's a good sign. You want to use the middle. That's going to open things up for your pens. But I think they like the matchup right now with Kimberly DeBoer on the front row. That's a better looking block for Evelyn Torres than what she had yesterday.
Reballed by Bolderick. That touched Ortman and Enax. Garza sets it down again. Third kill, fifth swing, 0 errors for Anastasia Garza.
Well, now you've seen her attack both corners, cross court and line corner. So that's a tough defensive assignment. What are you going to take away?
San Francisco State only hit 185 in their win yesterday. A reverse sweep against Central Oklahoma. Attack air. The first for Angelo State, the first for either side so far today. They're going to say there was a touch. So there was a touch, and Ferguson will come in to serve for Angelo State. So still 0 attack errors. Good start for both offenses. Left side, Isaac. Reballed by Ferguson. Goes to Wilson. Back to Isaac. Cross court, and she sends it down. Side out for the Gators.
A lot of noise made about the performance by Aiden Goodrich yesterday, but Izzy Isaac, she still had 19 kills.
Surpassed the school record for single season kills in yesterday's match. A response from Evelyn Torres on the cut shot. That's her second kill. She had 22 in yesterday's win.
Tamaya Wilson will be a little bit bigger block for her, but regardless, she's not looking at nearly the block she did yesterday.
Isaac out of system over the blockers and too deep. 9 attack errors for Isaac in the quarterfinals. Had a lot of swings. She had a lot of swings. Goodrich did as well. Torres with the serve. Serves it to Isaac. Punched off the net by Kimberly DeBoer. And the point will go to Angelo State. They lead by 3. Angelo State played very well early on in set 1. Struggled in sets 2 and 3 yesterday, losing both before winning the final 2 sets. Backside for Wilson, hammers it off the chest of Enax. Parrish blocked away. Check that. Parrish sneaks it inside the block.
Yeah, you know, these teams both had to win in 5 sets, but they went through it very different ways. You know, for Angelo State, they came out playing well early, really struggled in the middle and had to grind their way through to win it in 5, whereas it was a reverse sweep for San Francisco State. And they started off a little flat. They're starting off a little flat here today.
A block for Parrish, a kill, and then a block for Maddie Parrish, the sophomore. Angelo State leads by a handful here in set 1. First ever trip to the semifinals for the Bells and the Gators. The path to get here for Angelo State, coming off a 5-set win yesterday, a tough 4-set win in their regional finals against Metro State Denver. That helped them get their first regional title since 2016. They play in the South Central. They haven't lost in over 2 months. They've won 20 in a row. A very impressive 32-2 record entering action here today. Izzy Isaac sends it to Enax on serve receive. Parrish cross court. DeBoer near side for Goodrich. That block will stay in for the Bells. Holdrick was in on it.
We talk about the Bells on offense. They've really gotten off to a good start here blocking. And we know they have a great backline defense. So many digs yesterday. But if you can get started stopping things at the net, creates a lot more opportunity for your back line.
Really good depth for Chuck Waddington at that middle blocker spot. Bolderick had the block on the previous play. Service error for Angelo State. Taylor Vales back to serve for the Gators out of San Francisco, the California Collegiate Athletic Association. Serve goes to Ferguson. Parrish turned away. Backside for Thornton, who wiggles it through the block. 4th kill, 4 swings for a freshman who has not looked like a freshman this week.
She had 7 kills yesterday in an offense that really wasn't able to use the middles that much, especially in the second and third set. They want to try to get both middles involved more.
Shanked away by Isaac. That's an ace for Ortman. Debbie, it really seems like both teams trying to serve tougher as much as they can here early on in set 1.
I think both of these coaches would tell you it's going to come down to serve and pass. They're neither real imposing blocking teams. They're great defenders, but, I mean, if they're in system, that's the best version of themselves. So the way to get your opponent out of that is serving tough.
Hot start for Garza, her 4th kill, 0 attack errors. Sophomore out of Sacramento, set well as well by Kimberly DeBoer, one of the DeBoer twins. The libero is Brianna DeBoer. The setter is Kimberly DeBoer, twin sisters. It's hit by Parrish, met by Wilson. Push for Goodrich. Parrish gets there. Slide play for Garza. Racks up another. That's working right now for the Gators.
It is, and they're able to use her. You know, these are the 5-1 rotations where DeBoer's on the front row, setter. The more they can get Garza involved, the better in these rotations.
Back row Torres, dug out by Wilson. Left side Goodrich, still looking for her first kill, and she'll get it here. It's been a lot of Garza, just the second swing for Goodrich.
That's what happens when you run the middle early. It holds that opposing middle blocker, and it creates a seam or a one-on-one situation for your left side attacker.
A little hesitation there for Torres, eventually watches it fly. 15-11, Angelo State ahead here in set 1. Both programs in the semis for the first time ever. San Francisco State also was in the Final 8 for the first time ever. Angelo State back for the first time since 2016. That was also held in Sioux Falls. Side out for the Gators. Kind of just hanging around here in set 1 like they usually do.
Garza's shown us everything now. She's shown us what she can do with the slide. She's shown us in the middle of the floor, and now she's shown us the off speed. So she's being very creative right now as an attacker.
Gathered up by Enax. On the outside for Torres. Slapped over, sent back by Torres. Handled by DeBoer. The dig for Enax. Backside to Carter, goes hard off the Gators block. Slide play Garza. And Garza drops in another. 7 kills for Anastasia Garza. Debbie, she only averages 1.9 kills per set.
I think they're almost scoring better right now in the 5-1 rotations with DeBoer up, and that's because of how effective Garza's been. Theoretically, you should be better in your 6-2s because you have 3 attackers, and DeBoer's not a big offensive threat. But if Garza's going to be this good, they're not going to have problem in their 5-1s at all.
Third service there in set 1 for the Gators. Enax out of Hazlet, Texas, serves it to DeBoer. Good approach there for Isaac. Denied by Carter. They go right back to her. Tougher angle there for Isaac. Ortman on the outside for Torres, who tools the block.
Such a quick tempo, that delivery out to Torres, and that's exactly what needs to happen to not allow the middle blocker to close. So she gets a seam out of this just because that's such a fast tempo. Even that touch just isn't really good solid block.
Ortman digs Garza. Bump set goes to Carter. Overhand handle for our ball. It's hit by Isaac. Creative shot over the 2 blockers there for the outside hitter, Izzy Isaac. Isaac got a lot of help in the quarterfinals from Goodrich. Getting a lot of help today from Garza. But Isaac's averaging 4.2 kills per set, one of the better statistic numbers on the outside around the country. Backside to Carter, trying to stuff it off the block. She's denied. 3-balled by Kritzia Perez, who just came in. Isaac blocked away. Recovered by DeBoer. Arbol never went after it. Point Bells.
That's a tough point to lose. You're working so hard on defense. Just get that free ball over and give your defense another go.
The serve from Ferguson. Mishandled by Isaac. Third ace for Angelo State, surpassing their ace total from a day ago.
Well, you're right. There's no question. Both of these teams have come out a little high risk serving. They know that they have to take some chances at the service line if they're going to create trouble for the opponent.
Angelo State only averages 1.5 aces per set. That'll barely sneak in for Katie Parker, who provided a big lift off the bench in the quarterfinals. Only 11 attacks, but still had 5 kills.
Yeah, again, the fact that they're using the middles this much, this early, means they are in system.
Likely touched the line. Chuck Waddington got a very good look at it. Mishandled by Perez, an ace for the Gators. Just their second so far in set one. It comes from Kimberly DeBoer, her 30th of the year. The second team All-American. The first All-American in program history. Out of system, Torres off the block. Quick set goes to Parker. Torres, the push on the outside. Bump set for Wilson, the left-hander. And she buries it.
That was a great job by Arbol getting that nice hittable ball out to Wilson. I think it will be one of the Bells' tactics to put the first ball on the setter when she's back row. So that means that whoever's taking that second ball, whether it's Brianna DeBoer or it's Arbol, they got to really put up a nice hittable ball for the attackers. Timeout
for Chuck Waddington. We've seen this recipe before for the Gators of San Francisco State. They've really had to battle to get here. You go all the way back to the regional quarterfinals, California State and LA. That's the defending national champions with one of the best players around the country, Emily Elliott, who was the best player at the national championship a year ago. Chaminade had a great year. And then the sweep of Cal Poly Pomona was impressive in the finals. The reverse sweep against Central Oklahoma, they lost by 12 in set 2 in the quarterfinals. They won by only 2 in set 3. They won extra points in set 4, but they just continue to find a way. They were actually outscored total points on the match, 107-99. You just don't see that very often. Both of these teams were just a couple points away from a sweep. For Angelo State, if they hadn't won that first set by 2, it could have been a sweep. And then, you know, you look at that third set down 2, and San Francisco State only won by 2. So both of these teams were right on the edge, but that's where the term grit comes in, just finding a way when it counts the most. Chuck Waddington, the head coach for Angelo State, was looking at the stat sheet during the post-match press conference, and he said the stat sheet just doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered for the Bells in a while. Statistically, it didn't make a lot of sense, but they found a way to win the match. Torres gets a touch. 4th kill for Torres, 0 attack errors. This is definitely a more preferred situation for her than what she was looking at yesterday. I mean, some of the block had 6 inches on her in a really disciplined blocking team in Gannon. Service error number 2 on the Bells with 3 aces in set 1. Two teams exchange service errors. That was Isaac, 21-18, Angelo State. Really, I don't feel like either of these teams has gotten the other out of system that much with their serve, but this is the philosophy, and you'll see if eventually it does cause some problems. Ali Dutzman comes in to serve. Serves a good one to the Gators. Wilson goes off the block. Wortman to Thornton. Backside for Wilson. Cross court dug by Ferguson. Sent down by Ortman. We didn't see her do that a lot yesterday, but when she did it, it's been successful.
It's all about timing, you know, and I think if you do it too much as a setter, then teams start to defend it better, and she just waits till the right times to pull the trigger.
That was close. Waddington thinking about a challenge, but won't. That was awfully close there for Dutzman. That was hovering around that back line. Left side, Parrish, out of the reach of Isaac. Just the second kill for Parrish, but Debbie, she was really high air in the first 2 sets. Yesterday, 0 attack air so far today, and she made a big mid-match adjustment yesterday. It was much lower air the final couple.
Yeah, she only hit 0.50 on the match, but a lot of that was early play. I think she was well into the negatives, but you know, she still had 15 kills for the team, and I told you before the match, I think she'll just shake that off and respond really well today, and that's what she's done.
Quiet start for Goodrich, only her second kill. Side out for the Gators. Wilson could go on a point run for the service line. 51 aces this year. Had 4 in the regional final. Serves a great one to Torres. Ortman on the outside for Parrish, and she's stuffed away.
Triple block, you know, the Bells will identify that. You're really giving up the cross-court short ball, but that's 6 big hands you're looking at as an attacker. And I think they'll do that very sporadically. There's not going to be a consistent triple block.
5th service error for San Francisco State, and it pushes the Bells into set point here in set 1. Kritzia Perez will come in to serve. Sophomore out of Laredo in Texas. Angelo State from San Angelo. They play in the Lone Star Conference, a very good volleyball league. Looking for their 33rd win of the year and their 21st in a row. Playing well in set 1. Tip by Goodrich, met by Enax. Thornton out of the middle. Bump set to Goodrich. Goodrich is blocked away. The 4th block for Angelo State in set 1. They win by 4 in set 1 in their first ever semifinal appearance. Good start for the Bells. We're underway from Sioux Falls here on day 2. Around 10 o'clock Central Time last night after their upset win against Ferris State. Ferris State traveled really well. Underway in set 2. Right side to Wilson. And that block for Angelo State is alive and well. Thornton, the top blocker this year for the Bells.
You know, when I looked at the stats, Angelo State's just been solid everywhere. I think the surprising piece is how well they're blocking, and I think that's one of the ways that they can really create some pressure on San Francisco State. On the flip side, San Francisco State has the ability to create a lot of pressure off their serve, but they got to clean up the errors. 5 service errors, and that's a fine line between being aggressive and still limiting those errors.
Wilson, the ace, her team best 52nd of the year. School record for a season is 66, a little ways away from that. But a great year from the service line nonetheless for Tamaya Wilson. She's from Temecula, California. Another good serve. Running bump set for Ortman. The tip by Parrish, who continues to keep the ball in play. Carter will swing. Lunging handle for DeBoer. Garza had the great set 1. Timing wasn't really there, but the Gators will get the point anyway.
That's a tough error, net error by the Bells, because that ball was out. They don't want to start making unforced errors right here.
Flips the tape on the serve by Wilson. Thornton, a big swing out of the middle. Goodrich on the outside. Block touch for Angelo State. Parrish, dug out by Isaac. Overpass to Thornton. The hammer by Goodrich. We saw a ton of that in the quarterfinals.
We sure did. And great ball up by DeBoer to DeBoer. Nice tempo. She's really pushing that quicker tempo out to the pin just to create a little better opportunity for Goodrich, and she did.
Third kill for Goodrich. Team high 9 for Garza. She was outstanding in set 1. Parrish out of system. Back row Isaac. Punched across to Goodrich. Enax comes out of nowhere. Thornton trying to place it wide left. Timeout Chuck Waddington. Here come the Gators from San Francisco State. They pulled off a big upset in the quarterfinals against Central Oklahoma. They lead by 4 in set 2. Quality start in set 2 for the 7th seed from San Francisco. The Gators lead by 4. They force a timeout from Angelo State early on in this set. Wilson has served it well. This one is inches too deep.
Chuck Waddington will take credit for that service error. Icing the server. I think his timeout was exclusively about let's cut down on the errors and make them earn their points.
Slide play Garza. Angelo State saying it never got across. They never touched it. Indeed, that's the call for touches on San Francisco State. And now Angelo State within 2. Maddie Parrish out of Saginaw in Texas. Second team All-American. Tough handle for DeBoer. Reballed by Goodrich. Right side Carter. And a net violation is called on San Francisco State. It's on Goodrich. Perfect timeout by Chuck Waddington. A 3-0 run now. Now a 4-0 run of the ace for Parrish, her 35th.
Yeah, so if anyone questions calling a timeout that early, the coach knows their team, and my guess is he feels like they came out a little complacent in this second set. He's watched it too many times. He wanted to nip it in the bud.
73rd service error for Parrish, by far the most this year for the Bells. Chuck Waddington said during his post-match press conference on Thursday, he said the mental toughness from this team, it is beyond measure from any team that he's ever coached. He's been coaching for a while in his 17th year. He's had some really good teams. And he really identified the mental toughness, and that showed in the win yesterday against Gannon. Isaac goes off the block. DeBoer right back to her. Tight to the right side for Carter. Swing by Isaac, lunging handle for Enax. Torres from the outside. Isaac too deep.
Well, San Francisco State's doing exactly what I said they needed to do, and they're not going to block that many balls down, but they're getting some nice touches. Now they got to capitalize on them and keep those errors down.
Enax with 10 aces in her previous 5 matches out of Hazlet, Texas. And she aces again. Angelo State has really served it well here today.
They have, and they're definitely winning the serve and pass right now. And we said at the beginning, that's what it's going to boil down to. And I tell you, both of these coaches would say the same thing.
Isaac gets it back from DeBoer, and she sends it too deep again. And now the attack errors are racking up for the Gators. They're 4th here in this set.
That's why it was so important to Chuck Waddington not to start making those errors. Let your opponent do that.
A 7-1 scoring run for the Bells. Free ball from Wilson. Comes to Enax. Torres from the outside, and that lands in for Torres. Using the tape of the nets to bounce it home.
I know they're really trying to run a fast tempo, but Wortman left that ball a little flat. Torres did a nice job just getting it over.
An 8-1 scoring run for the Bells out of the Chuck Waddington timeout. So now Matt Hoffman will counter with a timeout of his own. Talks to his setter, Kimberly DeBoer, before he gets ready to talk to the team here. they've been in this spot before. I mean, it's hard to count out San Francisco State after what we saw in the quarterfinals when it appeared there was a good chance Central Oklahoma was going to sweep in 3. And then it was a reverse sweep for the Gators. They just kind of chipped away, got better as the match went on, so they're hoping for the same here today.
Well, you could feel it in the third set. It was hard points they were winning, and nothing felt easy for them, but you could just feel them start to turn that corner, and then they just got better and better as the match went on. And we haven't sensed any of that yet where they're really beginning to turn a corner, but, I mean, it took 2.5 sets yesterday, so as you said, I would never count them out.
This is a Gators program that every year just gets better and better. Matt Hoffman in his 9th year. He talked during his press conference earlier this week about year 1. They were 1-25 in his first year. And you talk about building up a program to get to this point. It's been 9 years to get here. You go from a 1-win season to this point where you're now in the national semis in your 9th year. Former assistant coach at Division I Wichita State. 18 wins a year ago was a good year. Made it to the regionals for the first time since 2012. But this year was a big jump. This isn't the regionals. This is the national championship tournament here. And they've already won 1 match, and they're hungry to get to the title match. And when the top 2 seeds are already out, you feel like you got as good of a chance as anybody here.
Absolutely.
Side out on the kill for Garza, her 10th already.
Yeah, we didn't see much of her in those 3 rotations, and the reason was they weren't passing well enough to use her. You know, another thing he said about building was they have learned to win on the big stage, and each year the stage that they have to win on gets bigger, and now they're on the biggest stage they have ever been on.
There's a touch. Carter was asking for it. She'll get it.
I think we're going to see a challenge.
And we'll get a challenge from Matt Hoffman. Officials had a really good day on Thursday. Our first challenge here on semifinal Friday.
Coaches actually had a really good day too. They won more challenges than they lost. Thought they were very calculated in the way they used them. So she definitely is looking for that outside hand. The ball lands well out of bounds, so that's not up for debate. It's just a question of whether she actually caught that left hand on the way out of bounds.
A little surprised if Carter missed by that much without a touch.
However, when you're going for hands and you're trying to tool, you actually kind of have to do that. It's a thumb down away shot. If you don't go for it, they'll block you. I'm not sure I saw enough in any of those angles to overturn the call on the floor.
Stacy DeWitt, the down official. Rodolfo Marrero, the up official. Each head coach gets 2 challenges. If we go to a 5th, they get an additional, unless they still have the 2 left. You cannot have 3 challenges in the 5th. The most you can carry over is 2. Angelo State trailed 5-1 before Chuck Waddington called an early timeout, and the response has been exactly what he's wanted from his squad here in the semifinals in set 2.
Yeah, talk about having a pulse on your team, and it was an early timeout, but valuable.
Call is in from Stacy DeWitt. Out of bounds, no touch. Angelo State will lose the challenge. Excuse me, Matt Hoffman will keep his challenge. Chuck Waddington will get the explanation from the official. So 2 challenges left for both. And DeBoer will serve it to Torres. Workman sets up Torres, cross court, and that barely lands in. She's been awfully successful. 0 attack errors, 6 kills now for Torres.
Well, she looked at the biggest block she could possibly look at yesterday, and she's got a little room to breathe today.
That Gannon block was big, and it was good again yesterday. One of the best blocking teams around the country. Ireland Ferguson serves it to Isaac. Lunging handle by her, gets it back. Diving dig by Enax. Torres off the block. Dug out by DeBoer. Isaac unleashes and buries it back corner.
Great shot, just got inside the block. She had a very small amount of room to work where she was inside the block and splitting the seam in the backline defense.
Fourth kill for Isaac, also has 4 digs. And she's busy on serve receive as well. She does a lot of things well for San Francisco State. Bump set near side to Wilson, the tip kill. Ortman a little bit late to get there.
I like that tip. Even if it comes up, it's Ortman who's going to play it, and now you have Angelo State out of system because she's taken the first ball.
Kimberly DeBoer sends it to Enax. Outside for Torres. Out of the reach of Arball. Another kill for Torres, her 7th.
That's a little different shot than she's been hitting. She's really been getting on top of the ball. That was a flat, deep shot, and sometimes those are the toughest to dig.
One-handed handle there on serve receive for the Gators. In system for the Bells. They'll try the middle with Bolderick, and there's a net violation on Isaac of San Francisco State. Angelo State continues to serve tough, putting the Gators in a tough spot on serve receive. Passed by DeBoer. Not a lot on that one for Isaac. Parrish. Tumbling dig for Arball. That clips the tape of the net and lands in cross court for Isaac. Her 5th kill. Isaac will go off, and Cynthia Bell will serve for the Gators. Senior from Alameda, California. A left-handed server. Goes to Ferguson. Parrish. Played by Bell. Rolled by Goodrich. In the middle for Bolderick, who sneaks it inside the block.
And Bolderick was really quiet yesterday. I'm sure they're happy to see her get more involved, and it started with a great first ball contact here, just allowing them to actually set her. So far, the Bells have definitely been the better team in the first ball contact.
Dutzman comes in to serve. Serves it to Isaac. On the outside for Goodrich. Only her 4th kill. She's only had 13 swings here in the first set plus.
I think that some of that's been a good thing because they've been using Garza a lot.
67 attacks in the quarterfinals for Goodrich. Sophomore from Fresno. Parrish pushes it to Isaac. Off speed from Goodrich. Enax, Ortman, Thornton off the block. DeBoer tight to the backside to Wilson. And then Ortman can't handle. Point Gators.
Wilson's got to look to do a little more with that ball. It's a little bit inside, but she's hitting exactly in her line of approach. And that's where the Bells are lining up, one-on-one. So she's got to look to go around that block a little more.
Bells almost had their first solo block of the week. And none yesterday, none so far today. All doubles. Low swing by Isaac, just trying to get it over, could not do so. Angelo State back in front by 1. Adeline Ortman, grad transfer from UT Tyler, first team All-American. UT Tyler also plays in the Lone Star. Torres, another transfer from UT Tyler. Passed by Enax. Thornton winds up, she's denied. Parrish, over the blockers, back line for Isaac. Goodrich unleashes her 5th.
That was a big swing, but it started with a great dig to target, allowing DeBoer to run that system offense.
Serve reception for Enax, the libero. Quick set to the middle to Carter. Bump set for Goodrich, out of system, and that is in. That might have touched that back line. Out of system kill for Goodrich.
It's a smart swing. The corners are open. Angelo State's running perimeter defense, and she just took some pace off and placed it well.
Gators trying to tie up the match at 1 set apiece after dropping set 1 by 4. Torres has to play it. That was going to stay in for the Gators. That attack is too deep for Carter.
Carter needs to be just a little more patient. That was a huge first swing, but she got dug, and you don't want to err on that next swing. Just keep it in play, recycle, let your defense go again. They're playing such incredible defense right now.
Timeout for the Bells of Angelo State. Now they trail by 2 here in set 2. 3-7 matchup here in the semifinals today. The top 2 seeds are done, in case you missed yesterday. Ferris State was upset against Bentley. The Gators pulled off the reverse sweep against 2 seed Central Oklahoma, so the top 2 seeds are out. 3-7 matchup here, and then later today it's going to be a 4-8 matchup in the second semifinal match. A year ago, Debbie, in the D2 title match, we had a 4-6 matchup between West Texas A&M and California State LA, and we could be heading towards something similar again this year.
I just think it speaks to the parity we're seeing in Division II volleyball, and it's a good thing for the sport. You see teams, all these teams no one's ever won one, so you're seeing a team being crowned this weekend for the first time, and that's just good for the game. But I really like seeing these regions that have typically come in and not been able to compete quite as well pull the upsets and begin to make everybody think, hey, it's a 1-8 tournament.
Joey Passes, the head coach for Bentley, kind of brought that up during his press conference after the match yesterday, talking about potential seeding for the future for his region. Bentley's come out of that region each of the last 2 years, but they've been an 8th seed in each of those 2 years. Played Tampa tough in the 1-8 matchup a year ago and then beat Ferris State one night ago. Big swing for Parrish, her best of the day, her 3rd kill.
And there's that offense that's created out of a great first pass. Block has to hold with the middle, and she was in a 1-on-1.
Serves it to Brianna DeBoer. Swing goes off the chest of Enax. Torres rolls it. DeBoer gets there. Slide play for Garza. It's been a huge day for Anastasia Garza. Match high 11 kills. An ace for our ball, her 49th of the year.
The bottom just dropped out on that ball. I mean, the Bells have been handling some pretty tough serves so far in this match.
Isaac blocked away. 2 freshmen up front there for the Bells. And the freshmen get to it. Those are 2 big freshmen up front, Thornton and Carter. Both having a good tournament, both having a good year. Bells within 2. Enax sends it to Isaac on serve receive. Backside Garza, a dozen kills. Probably if you ask Chuck Waddington who you key in are going into the match, it's probably Goodrich and Isaac, and it's been Garza who's been the offense.
And credit the ball control for allowing that to happen and the setter who's delivering that. But when Enax, who had 24 digs yesterday, that ball was right on her. It's just too hot to handle.
Saved by Brianna DeBoer. Free ball Wilson. Options coming up for Ortman. Backside, Carter hammers it down.
Ortman did a great job of getting Carter into that 1-on-1. She's a freshman, but she doesn't play like one, and she knows how to take care of business in that matchup.
16 kills in the quarterfinals for Carter. Out of Bridge City in Texas. That was her 3rd today. Her 13th swing, 2 attack errors for Carter. Only had 3 attack errors in the quarter. She hit .394 yesterday. Service way too long for Ferguson. Gators the first at 20. They did not win set 1, and they did not win set 2 in the quarterfinals. Trying to even up this match. Passed by Parrish. Outside for Torres, and she's stuffed away. Wilson and Parker.
That is the first big double block that Torres has looked at. The Bells have been so in system, the block just hasn't been able to commit like that.
Torres making an adjustment there, goes around the block from the right side. Angelo State within 3.
I like her on the right in that serve receive. Just a different look, different swing for her.
Torres out of Fort Worth. Now the service here is really piling up late in this set. Chuck Waddington's reaction to that miss says it all.
Well, it was the Achilles heel for San Francisco State in the first set, but I don't think either of these teams is going to change their aggressive philosophy.
Bell serves it to Torres, who backpedals the handle. The push by Parrish. Great recovery by Brianna DeBoer. Rolled by Goodrich. Ortman pin to pin for Parrish. Played up by Parker. Goodrich pops it off the block. Ortman, the dump play. Well done by Adeline Ortman.
I'll say it again, she doesn't do it often, but when she does, it's brilliant timing. And you know, they're not going to put a blocker up on her, so they got to find a way to defend that back line.
Ortman only 5'7", out of Rome, Texas, a grad transfer. Angelo State down only 3, now they're down 4 again. Slammed down by Aiden Goodrich.
And you just mentioned Ortman's size. She's a little bit of a small block out there, so that's a really nice matchup for Goodrich. She took advantage of it.
Long run for Ortman. Tough angle, Parrish. Tipped by Goodrich, far line. Ortman. Thornton. The push goes wide left. There's been a couple of those balls today for them. San Francisco State set point in set 2. Outside for Parrish, off the block. Gators trying to win it in set 2. Punched in by Garza. 13th kill for her. What a start to the semifinals for the sophomore from Sacramento. And San Francisco State evens up the match. They win by a half dozen here in set 2. Awfully impressive after dropping set 1 by 4. And we could be in store for another 5-setter. We had 3 of them in the quarterfinals on Thursday. Angelo State head coach Chuck Waddington is joining us. Coach, what changed from set 1 to set 2 for your team?
Well, service pressure on their side for sure. They served the ball way tougher, didn't make very many errors, and we were the opposite. We were sailing the balls out from the service line. Totally took the pressure off of them in that set, and we got to make that better.
Coach, any specific adjustments beside that you're looking for in this next set?
Yeah, we got to stop tipping the ball. You know, we're just kind of playing really tentative. You know, we come out aggressive, we start playing tentative. Tentative is not our game. We got to get back to that.
Coach, thanks so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Chuck Waddington joining us. His team won set 1. They dropped set 2. Intermission from the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls. It comes your way next. This is the 8th set here this week so far for these two teams. Both had to go 5 sets in the quarterfinals. Angelo State defeated Gannon. San Francisco State defeated 2-seed Central Oklahoma. Gators get the first point. Never got over there for Angelo State. Taylor Vales on the service line for the Gators. Serves it tough to Torres, and Goodrich on the overpass will get the kill.
Angelo State starting in a bit of a tough rotation. Ortman's up right now. She's in her final rotation of the 5-1s, but you've only got 2 attackers. Tough serving will make this a hard side out.
Ortman on the outside for Parrish. Much needed side out for Angelo State. Parrish, low air today. That's her 5th kill, and she's done a really good job, Debbie, of keeping the ball in play.
She has. She's been so much better than yesterday, and you just had that sense that she'd come back today and be that second-team All-American she's been for the team all season long.
Parrish with 15 kills yesterday, but 12 airs attacking. Free ball from Enax. It goes to Wilson. Backside for Wilson, out of the reach of Torres. They've sprinkled in Tamaya Wilson just enough. That's her 4th.
And we said we thought we would see a little more of her today. I think the more they can spread the ball all over the net, keep her engaged, just challenges that Angelo State defense more.
Parrish just has to punch it across. That's all she could do with it. Goodrich rolls it to Enax. Back to Parrish, off the block. Played up by Isaac. Good approach for Goodrich. Overhand handle for Torres. Isaac defends. Garza. That was a tight attack on that slide play, and it's set down to the Terraflex floor by Thornton, who picks up her 6th kill.
She's been good today. It's been good that they've been ball controlling well enough to use her, but she's definitely been terminal. I was curious to see if this might be when Chuck Waddington would go to the Demi Carter in the middle and Garnett on the right side. You know, he's been using that a little bit as of late. He used it in the regional final late. He used it yesterday late. It's a nice look, but he's obviously staying with his normal lineup right now. I anticipate we will see it at some point in this match.
That net violation was on Evelyn Torres of Angelo State. Torres on serve receive. Torres attacks. Goes cross court to our ball. Outside for Isaac. She goes cross court. Great recovery on the free ball by Enax. Wilson has to set Isaac, who uses the block. The assist by Wilson, who is full of energy with Isaac. Sometimes a right side hitter will have to set a little bit.
Well, I tell you what, I think the one thing that has changed with that eliminating the double call on your side of the net on the second contact is that everybody on the floor now can be a setter. You don't have to be a good one. You don't have to be a clean one. And actually, she put up a pretty good ball, but I think it has been a game changer in that regard.
Chuck Waddington used a very early timeout in set 2. It worked in set 2. He doesn't use one yet in the 3rd. Side out for the Bells. It was an 8-1 run after the timeout in set 2. They trailed 5-1 before the timeout. Took a lead of 3, but eventually fell in set 2. Enax, the libero. Sends it to DeBoer, the libero for the Gators. Parrish, Ortman, Torres, dug out by Brianna DeBoer. Slide play, Garza crunches in another. That slide play has been money for the Gators.
It really has, and I bet you that Kimberly DeBoer loves having her sister Brianna for the libero because she just puts that ball on the money. That's why Garza's been able to be so effective this entire match.
Brianna DeBoer will serve, and she serves it low. For both squads in the quarterfinals, the ace number was really, really low. Only 3 combined between these two teams in 10 combined sets in the quarterfinals. They've combined for 9 aces already today, but also 13 combined service errors. Dump play by DeBoer, and she's able to sneak it in. We saw that a good amount yesterday, and that's tough to defend.
It's really deceptive, and she does it from the ground. It's still hard to read.
Second-team All-American will serve it to Parrish, also a second-team All-American. A lot of zip on that attack by Torres. Bump set by DeBoer, tip by Isaac. Long bump set by Brianna DeBoer, buried by Isaac.
So I said this earlier, I really feel like if these two teams get into the out-of-system game, it favors San Francisco State. Neither one of these teams want to play the out-of-system game.
Timeout, Chuck Waddington. Gators lead by a handful here in the third. Great numbers in set one for the Bells of Angelo State. They've kind of leveled off since. Meanwhile, for San Francisco State, Debbie, they're doing what they do. They get better as the match goes on. They've been at their best so far here in the third.
They made that change a little bit earlier today than they did in the match yesterday. But yeah, you can feel they were fighting for the points, and now they're starting to get a little flow and momentum, and their out-of-system game is great right now.
Free ball from Parrish to Brianna DeBoer. Kimberly DeBoer sets up Wilson, who's blocked away. When Angelo State was playing well early, their block was good in set one. It's starting to come back potentially here in set number 3.
And that's a huge block because they just did what Coach Waddington asked them not to do, and that's give free balls and tip over. And he's frustrated, but block came through with a big stop there.
Perez will come in to serve for the Bells out of San Angelo in Texas, the Lone Star Conference. DeBoer sets up Isaac again, and she'll use the arm of the blocker. It seemed like, or at least Isaac thought so. Point Bells, it went out of bounds, never touched.
Well, that's the same thing we saw earlier with Demi Carter. You know, if you commit to tooling the block, you actually have to really commit. And if you miss, you miss.
Parrish buries it.
Great shot. They've been looking for their more off-speed shots to go to area one, that line shot. But you can see that San Francisco State's actually kind of rotating towards that line. That was a great view of the floor.
Isaac with the response, side out for the Gators. 10th kill for Isaac. Double digits now in 11 straight matches for her. Broke the single season school record for kills in yesterday's match, passing Beth Perkins, who played for the Gators and set the record back in 2009. Parrish is blocked. Katie Parker, who is 6'2", only a redshirt freshman, wrecking havoc again defensively.
Yeah, you know, she doesn't provide that much on the offensive side. She'll score here and there, but she's a big defender, and I think that's why they have her there.
Service error for Bell, giving the ball back to the Bells. Angelo State trailing by 3 on serve. Bells won set 1 by 4. Gators won set 2 by 6. Dutzman sends it to Brianna DeBoer. Goodrich winds up. Dutzman, the freshman, digs it. Parrish out of bounds, wide left. Phenomenal dig, though, early on in that stretch by Dutzman.
Well, and it was textbook, just getting right in the seam. The block actually leaving that hole so that she could get in there and dig the ball. And that's a really smart shot, just a little bit wide there at the end.
Ortman on the outside for Parrish, around the triple block. Uses the block for the kill. Side out, Angelo State. No panic from Parrish. She looks over the net and sees 3 blockers in front of her. An ace. Adeline Ortman, her second today. Her team best, 42nd of the year.
And there's that pressure we saw in the first set from Angelo State. They were high error, trying to still be aggressive in the second set.
Ortman to Brianna DeBoer. Kimberly DeBoer sets up Garza, who's blocked away. The solo for Sydney Thornton. The first solo block this week for Angelo State.
She lines up just right. Big hands over the net.
That's the 18th block of the week for Angelo State, but the first solo. Goodrich won't get a touch. And Matt Hoffman will get a timeout. Angelo State coming back here in set 3. The Bells won the first, they dropped the second. And we're tied at 12 apiece here in set 3 from Sioux Falls. Bells playing better, and this is a game of momentum, isn't it, Debbie? I mean, we've seen this all week where the momentum can shift quickly, and right now it's shifting towards Angelo State.
Well, the serving has been much tougher and in for Angelo State. And it's become the side of San Francisco State that's been a little more high error in this last few points. So, you know, it's so hard to ask players to be aggressive and low error, but that really is when you get your momentum going.
One thing, too, for Angelo State I wanted to bring up is Parrish has been better today, but we still haven't seen Parrish at her best. And if she can raise her play to where she's been at times this year, that second-team All-American kind of play, that could really lift Angelo State the rest of the way.
That's a great point. She's got 6 kills right now, and some of them have been at really critical times, but she's still just hitting 0.69, so not the type of efficiency that they are looking for.
4 kills per set for Parrish for the year. She had 12 attack errors in the quarterfinals, but a lot of those came early. She was in double figures early. Made some corrections the rest of the way. It's carried over into today. Angelo State trying to break the tie. Serve receipt kind of breaking down a bit for the Gators. That will help on the kill on the right side from Wilson, her 5th.
And that's the benefit of having a left-handed attacker out there. You can throw that out-of-system ball up to her, and she can still take a big swing.
Service error, Wilson, her team high 52nd service error this year.
Neither team have stopped the serving aggressive, and that one was just missed by inches.
Good serve by Parrish. Goodrich dug out by Parrish. Torres out of the reach of DeBoer. 9th kill, team high. Evelyn Torres out of Fort Worth.
So a nice job here of just getting off the inside hand there of Garza, and that one's just not diggable.
Angelo State in front now here in set 3. Pinball's around, pinball's over. What a swing by Garza.
That's just about the only way we haven't seen her put the ball down so far in this match. And Angelo Turner got 2 blockers up on that. She found the right part of the court.
She's hitting .583, a blistering hitting percentage today for Garza. That last kill was her 16th. And we have to repeat it, she's only averaging 1.9 kills per set. She has 16 with a ways to go here in set 3. DeBoer to DeBoer, now Garza. Out of bounds, no touch, she wants one. And Matt Hoffman's gonna challenge this.
She's pretty sold on that.
Yep.
She convinced Coach Hoffman.
This is a prime example of the coach relying on the players on the floor. Garza thought there was a touch, so Matt Hoffman will use the challenge card.
And I mean, even if they lose this challenge, it's a great time to kind of put things on pause let your team regroup, maybe put in the next side-out play that you want.
Likely would have been Spencer. I didn't see anything in the back row with Ortman. Ortman let it go. It would have had to have been Spencer there.
Spencer on the right arm. I almost felt like it might have caught the tape.
Which could have made Garza think that somebody touched it.
Yeah, at game speed, it's a little hard to distinguish.
Yep. Point Angelo State. So Matt Hoffman loses the challenge. He's down to one left. Chuck Waddington still has 2 remaining. But you have to trust your players. In that spot, if Garza feels like somebody touched it, you have to use it. Garza around the block, punched up one-handed by Parrish. Torres out of system. Overhand handle for Brianna DeBoer. Isaac out of system. She is so good out of system.
Yeah, that's a tough out. Not only did she get the ball over, she found the seam in the defense with some pace.
Another double-double for Izzy Isaac, who had a double-double in the quarterfinals with 19 kills and 16 digs. Wilson looking for her second assist. Isaac is dug. Sent over by DeBoer. Enax got just enough on it. Free ball from Spencer. Parker dug by the setter Ortman. Overhead bump set for Enax. Short swing by Torres. San Francisco State says they didn't touch it. The officials let the play on. Carter dug out by Brianna DeBoer. Isaac was leaning back, and that helped out the block of Carter.
And we talked about, would Coach Waddington put Carter in the middle and make that change, bringing Garnett in? But I think this is part of why. They still want her out blocking the left sides for San Francisco State.
The top 2 blockers this year for the Bells are both freshmen, Thornton and Carter. Both out of Texas as well. Service error for Ferguson.
I would say up to that, they've had a fairly clean service game. Maybe one earlier by Ortman.
Timeout called here by Matt Hoffman. So Matt Hoffman calls a timeout after the service error. Your thoughts on the timing of that timeout?
He's seen something. There is something that he has recognized that he thinks they can take advantage of. I'm not sure because nothing much has changed. I mean, we've got Hannah Spencer over there in the middle, but nothing else has really changed for the Bells. But I believe this is absolutely tactical, nothing, with the flow or mentality.
It's also the final timeout in this set for San Francisco State. One left for Angelo State.
So again, he sees real value in this timeout. You have to trust it. Well, since I don't know what it is, I trust that it's something pretty, helpful.
Winner plays for a national championship tomorrow. 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern tomorrow here in Sioux Falls. Winner of this plays the winner of Lynn and Bentley, which is our second semifinal match later tonight. That Lynn-Bentley matchup scheduled for 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. The DeBoer twins out of Murrieta, California. Kimberly on the service line, second-team All-American. School record holder for most assists in a single season in program history. Overpass goes to Parrish. Backside for Torres, pushes it off the block. Angelo State trying to build on their lead. Torres denied. Kept up by Ferguson, who sneaks out of the way. And then Parrish couldn't get it over. 4 touches on the bells. Tied up, 17 apiece. Big serve again by DeBoer. Torres off the block. Bump set by Arball. Overhand handle for the setter, Ortman. Ferguson has to set. Torres a low swing. Now Waddington has 1 timeout left, and he's going to use it right now. San Francisco State takes a late lead here in set 3.
Well, I tell you, if there's a stat that jumps out right now at me, and you ask me this all the time, San Francisco State has 42 kills to Angelo State's 28. And yet this match is so tight. That's a lot. That's a big discrepancy. So it just tells you that San Francisco State's probably aired a little higher, probably a little more at the service line in some other ways. But, you know, once again, Chuck Waddington's been talking about this through the regional and into the first round match yesterday. That they get beat in so many statistical categories, and they still hang around in the match and find ways to win.
It was Garza early for the Gators of San Francisco State. Lately, it's been a lot of Isaac, another double-double with 11 kills and 10 digs, and she just continues to be dangerous on the outside, Debbie.
And it's just a complementary piece. When you come in and establish the middle early, and then you start kicking the ball to your big-time left side, and then, you know, we've seen a little more of Tamaya Wilson. We're certainly going to see plenty of Goodrich. Now you're running a balanced offense.
Kimberly DeBoer back to the service line. Will go down as one of the best players in program history for sure when it's all said and done this week. Senior from Murrieta, California, serves it to the bells. Parrish goes to Kimberly DeBoer. Wilson, the right side hitter, buries it back line. Gators by a pair.
You know, you can take that same out-of-system ball and bump set it out to a right-sided attacker, but it's got to go across their body, and they generally have a harder time with this because she's left-handed. She can hit any shot on the floor out of that pass.
Enax passes for Ortman. Torres dug out by Brianna DeBoer. Kimberly DeBoer with the setup, and Isaac is rejected. A much-needed block, the 9th for the Bells.
Brianna DeBoer is really committed to that line, that off-speed line shot that Angelo scored with a couple of times. But that dig from her set up this kill by Isaac.
New server coming in for Angelo State, Kritzia Perez, sophomore defensive specialist. Tough assignment right here. Sends it to Arball, the DS for the Gators. A seam there for Isaac. Arball has to play it inside the near line. Isaac cross court, Perez digs. Back set by Parrish. Swing by the setter, Ortman. A little backwards there. And it goes off the net, and Angelo State can't get it over. The outside hitter was setting, the setter was attacking. Steered ahead by Ferguson. Spencer the swing, and that goes out of bounds outside the antenna.
That's a huge score by Spencer. They've had a little bit of trouble scoring out of the middle, and you had Ortman up there, so there's really just those 2 attackers. But she took care of business. That was a tough rotation for them.
Another new server coming in for 3-seed Angelo State. Dutzman, the freshman, sends it to Isaac. Parker out of the middle, sliding handle by Ortman. Angelo State will go to Parrish over the blockers. Lunging dig by DeBoer. Ortman has to free ball it. Does so to Isaac. Left side, Goodrich found the opening.
That free ball was created by tipping at Parrish, and you took her out of the offense, so there was really not much else to do except give the free ball. And those are the types of points that you have to capitalize on.
Lead is 2 for San Francisco State. Vales on the service line for the Gators, trying to win back-to-back sets and go up 2-1 here in the semis. Both programs in the semis for the first time in program history. It was off the chest of Perez. Out of system, Parrish. Vales digs. Goodrich again. Off the block and down. Back-to-back kills for Goodrich.
The Gators are really committed to defending the corners, and Angelo State hasn't recognized it yet, or they're just not finding a way to attack the middle back area. It's wide open.
Good choice by Perez. The 11th Gators service there, 18 combined between the two teams. Fans for Angelo State traveling well from San Angelo, making some noise behind their bench. Shanked away by Isaac, and it's an ace for Ortman. Her 3rd of the day, her 43rd of the year.
Yeah, I almost said it before she served. She's been tough today. You have to really track that ball all the way in.
Team leader in aces this year for an Angelo State squad that only averages 1.5 aces per set. Goodrich out of system, dug out by Enax. Carter can only tip it. Wilson plays it at the 10-foot line. Diving dig, Enax. Ortman outside for Parrish, who buries it.
That's interesting because they were rotating into that corner earlier on defense, and this time they left it alone. I think I saw Isaac say, "My bad."
Neither head coach can stop play with a timeout. None left for Matt Hoffman, none left for Chuck Waddington. Wilson tools the block, side out for the Gators.
Well, this is where the gritty comes in for both sides of the floor. You can't be tentative right now. You got to play to win.
Wilson serves it to Enax, who takes control. The attack by Carter. Wide left, no touch. Chuck Waddington turning towards his bench to see what his reserve saw. Now he's going to head towards his challenge card. Let's see if he pulls it here. He still has 2 left. Now he's looking for the challenge card. He finally finds it. And he will tell Stacy DeWitt he wants to challenge.
I think he's looking for a touch here. It'll be close.
It seemed like Demi Carter was a little bit unsure, but that could just be a freshman who's just a little bit unsure on the floor right there. She didn't really react either way. It does appear it's out of bounds,
yes,
but the challenge is touch or no touch. And the point will go to Angelo State. Now Chuck Waddington trying to figure out who's going to serve here. Who's supposed to be the server here for Angelo State?
Well, you're seeing that he's using quite a few substitutions right now. They're situational substitutions, sometimes for serving, sometimes for other things. You remember that first rotation of the set, they started with Ortman front row, and then she rotated right into the 6-2s. Part of that is to save a sub. They wanted that rotation, and they were looking to save a sub for later on.
That's a big call reversal instead of set point for the Gators. It is tied at 23. Need to win by 2. Garza stumbles on the slide play. Didn't have a lot on it. Torres off the block. Outside for Goodrich. Blocked away by Carter. Wilson will just have to roll it to Enax. Options for Ortman. In the middle for Thornton. Outside back to Goodrich. And Goodrich uses the block. Set point for San Francisco State.
There weren't very many aggressive swings in that rally. Goodrich took the most aggressive and was able to tool the block.
Set point Gators. Asia Arbol sends it to Torres, who gets it back from Ortman. Cross court, wide right. And the Gators win set number 3. Angelo State made it interesting. San Francisco State, the 7 seed from the California Collegiate Athletic Association. 1 set win away from going to the championship. The 4th comes up next from Sioux Falls. Familiar territory for the 3 seed Angelo State Bells. They trailed 2 sets to 1 before winning the final 2 sets in the quarterfinals against Gannon. Meanwhile, a little bit unfamiliar territory, at least this week, for the Gators, as they now lead 2 sets to 1. They needed to pull off a reverse sweep to get here from the quarterfinals. Thornton too deep. First point goes to the Gators here on the 4th.
You know, if you think back to the regional, though, with San Francisco State, they won their first round match in 5, their second match in 4, and then they swept Cal Poly Pomona. So do they get better as the tournament goes on?
Free ball by Wilson. Parrish. Lunging dig by Isaac, who has done it all again today. Right left on the swing for Goodrich. This is a San Francisco State squad that began the year with 2 losses. They started this season 0-2. 25-6 is a really good record, but it's even more impressive when you look at what they started with at 0-2. 25-4 since then. Backside for Carter. Free ball, Wilson. Front row for Thornton. Block late to get there, and Parrish takes advantage.
And that's just a complete mismatch. You had Kimberly DeBoer out there by herself. Block was not even trying to close. Parrish just capitalized on it.
Angelo State hasn't lost in over 2 months. October 4th, their most recent setback. Garza tools the block for her 17th kill.
Well, the Bells are doing a better job on her. In the early parts of this match, she was getting open net swings, and now they're at least getting touches. And sometimes those touches can become slows that you can transition out of.
Deep serve, we've seen it a lot today, both sides. This is our 19th combined service error. Service error for Parrish.
I'd be disappointed if they let up on the service pressure at this point.
Usually revs up deeper the match goes.
You live and die by it.
Tough handle for Torres. Thornton trying to place it. The left-hander Wilson swings. Enax a diving dig. Torres, too hot to handle for DeBoer. Torres reaches double figures with 10.
DeBoer's had 18 digs. She's done a really nice job, but there have been a few that they've put enough pace on she can't handle. It takes a special ball.
DeBoer slides and gathers. Isaac out of the reach of Thornton. 12 kills, 12 digs. Isaac continues to do a little bit of everything.
She's a special player, and you know, we highlighted Goodrich, but she had an awfully good match yesterday as well.
Played by Parrish. Big swing, a heavy ball there from Wilson. Torres around the block. Isaac the tip, lands in for Izzy Isaac, Los Gatos, California native.
Smart tip, Ortman's back row, so even if she does get it up, you have the team out of system.
Long run for Ortman. Torres well off the tape. Backside to Wilson, hits another heavy ball. She unleashes again.
You haven't said long run for Ortman that much today, and I think that that's a testament to how good, against really tough serving, how good the Bells have been in serve receive.
Lunging play by Parrish on serve receive. Torres is blocked. Wilson got the kill. Now Wilson gets the stuff on the near pin.
That's that tough out-of-system swing where the double block can be formed and waiting for the swing.
Julia Hopkins will come in for Evelyn Torres. First action all week for Hopkins. Freshman outside hitter from Austin, Texas. Serve receive for Parrish. Right side, Carter blocked away. Here comes the Gator block. Timeout, Angelo State. It's been a slow day in the blocking department for San Francisco State. Now it's heating up. Gators lead by 4 in the 4th. Good to have you with us today from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We're inside the Sanford Pentagon for day 2. Semi-final action today, our first of 2 matches. Adam Young with Debbie Hendricks, national champion head coach from 1997 at Division II. These 2 programs trying to get to the championship. And right now, things are looking good for the 7-seed Gators. Kill number 14 for Isaac.
That's a big-time angle, getting inside the block and just putting so much pace on that.
Near line, that is Hopkins who just came in. And sneak in there for Hannah Spencer. It's a pretty young, inexperienced group on the floor for Angelo State right now.
And they just rotated Ortman up to the front. So they've got to terminate with a really young middle and outside.
Torres on the bench right now for Angelo State. Ferguson will serve for the Bell. Serves it to Isaac. Backside to Wilson. Block late to get there. Wilson's really heating up. That's her 9th.
And in system right now, DeBoer can choose what she wants to go after. You've got the small block of Ortman, or right here she's going after, a new player on the floor, freshman Julia Hopkins.
There is so much offensive balance with San Francisco State. It's on full display right now. Goodrich, Isaac, Garza, great all week. Wilson's had a big year, and she's starting to really pick up her play as well. Point goes to San Francisco State. Double contact the call as the ball went over the net.
And this is a tough stretch right now because Angelo State just started their 5-1 rotations, and San Francisco State is still in their 6-2. So it's a real mismatch on the net offensively.
Bell, a good serve to Ferguson. First swing for Hopkins. The first swing all week. Goodrich gets a touch. And you can really feel the momentum on the side of San Francisco State right now. Angelo State trying to figure it out with Torres on the bench. Hopkins in for the first time all week, and they have fallen behind by 7. Winner of this one goes to the championship tomorrow. Championship match tomorrow at 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. Our final semifinal match tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central here in Sioux Falls. Bentley and Lynn. Just like you drew it up. Debbie, an 8-4 matchup at the semifinals right there. And Joey Passes and Bentley certainly happy to still be playing. Lynn looked awfully sharp, maybe the best out of anybody in the quarterfinals on Thursday, so it should be a fun one later tonight.
I think the unique thing for Bentley is they still are kind of the underdog, so they can come in against a really good Lynn team and just play loose and free and play to win. Nothing to lose.
I think one of the big questions, too, for Bentley going into today is how quickly can you revert ahead to this match, because you are on such a high from defeating the top seed, and you could tell that post-match press conference with the players and with Joey Posses as well, you're still trying to figure out how that happened, right? You're still trying to process that win against a team that was undefeated. And then quickly you need to push that aside and focus on the task ahead, which is tonight against Lynn. Fortunately for them, you get to play second today and you have a little more time to process everything and get ready for Lynn. Hannah Spencer, another underclassman, a sophomore from San Antonio, and Torres is back on the floor now for Angelo State.
And big time swing out of Spencer to get them out of that rotation.
Angelo State is hoping this is where they make their run. They're getting doubled up right now. Goodrich, so many options, her 13th kill. 3 players have 13-plus kills right now for the 7-seed Gators.
Well, I like that matchup against Ortman. You know, she's undersized, and you don't want to look to try to bury the ball on her. You just want to look to use her.
Torres out of the back row. Blocked away. Outside Parrish. Doug Isaac. Pin to pin set goes to Goodrich, who pushes it inside the block. Spencer couldn't get there to close it quick enough.
You know, back on that comment about Bentley and how the emotional side of that, there's also the physical piece where they finished really late. We all finished really late last night. They have a little more time before the match today. But Lynn has more time than they did, and it's just a tough physical turnaround, especially after a 5-set match like that.
4th kill, 0 errors for Spencer. If you had to go back to yesterday, of course, Lynn had the easiest day out of anybody. The only match that did not go 5 sets. They only needed 3. And I'll tell you what, it should help Lynn tonight, but if they are to make it to the championship match, then it could really, really help, because once you're playing 3 matches in 3 days, that 3rd one could be difficult.
And as a coach, you can't talk about that. You can't, talk about trying to win matches in 3 sets, but if you're fortunate enough to do so, there's no question you are fresher as a result.
Wilson sends the serve to Ferguson. Parrish misses the far line. Lead grows to 9 for San Francisco State. Storybook season for Matt Hoffman and the Gators. First ever trip to the Final 8, to the quarterfinals. They have reached the semis and now trying to get to the title match. They lead 2-1. Parrish out of system. DeBoer steers it for Goodrich, who's blocked by Thornton. Free ball by Kimberly DeBoer. Parrish the roll right in the campfire.
Really good, aggressive off-speed shot. There's a big difference between tipping to be careful or hesitant, and then there's really smart shots, and that was a great off-speed ball.
The DeBoer twins, Brianna the libero, Kimberly the setter, a huge part of the success this year for San Francisco State. Big pieces in building up this program to where it is right now. Goodrich out of the reach of Enax. Goodrich has been really good here in set 4, Debbie.
And there's no surprise. I mean, she's got to be really confident after yesterday, and the script just didn't include her as much early. The script included Garza, and then it included Isaac, and her number's been called plenty.
Service air for Arball. That is her 4th today. It's been a little hit or miss for the service line. She has 2 aces, 4 service errors. 13 errors for the line for the Gators. But they lead 2-1, and they lead by 8 here in set 4. Thornton, out of bounds, wide right. I think it was Parrish who was telling Chuck Waddington that ball was in. Chuck was not going to challenge, but Parrish and maybe some others as well telling him to. He still has 2 challenges left. You're in the 4th. You get the additional if you only have 1 or 0 left as you go to a 5th, so why not use it here?
Yeah, it's a good way to just kind of slow things down.
Close enough to use it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and again, he was relying on what his players saw.
Call from Stacy DeWitt, and the ball was in. Good call there by Parrish. He was on it.
And good trust by Chuck Waddington. I'm not sure he felt like it was, but he really listened to Parrish.
Angelo State hoping that could turn the tide a little bit. A long way to go. Right side Carter. It's been a quiet day for her. Only her 5th kill after recording 16 yesterday. Timeout, San Francisco State.
I think this is a great timeout. You just never want to count Angelo State out, and they want a challenge. Now you get the big swing from Carter. You got to stop this little run here by the Bells if you hope to come out of this 4th set alive.
We might get a repeat speech here from Chuck Waddington between sets 3 and 4 in the quarterfinals. He said during his post-match press conference last night, he told the team, I just want to play a little bit longer. He said, just give me an extra set. Give me one more set. I want to enjoy this a little bit longer. They gave him an extra set. They go to the 5th. They win the 5th. They get to play an extra day. But he said he told the team, I just want to play a little bit longer with his squad. And that could be the same message right now. Backs against the wall here in the 4th. You just want to play a little bit longer. Give me one more set. Get us to the 5th.
I would not count them out until I see the 25th point on the board for San Francisco State. And I actually feel like Demi Carter's going to have to be really big for them. She's got 2 more rotations up. So you can get in system and be able to use her.
Parrish, the 2nd team All-American, sends it in the net. And it seems like the service errors have come at pivotal times today for Angelo State. A momentum breaker for the Bells. Brianna DeBoer scrapes the tape. Good pass in the back row by Enax. Outside Isaac. Lunging dig by Ortman, the setter. Torres out of system, goes to Arball. Isaac the tip. Covered up by Torres. Right side Carter. Over the block. No touch.
And again, that tip took Torres out of the offense so the block could go and get 2 up on Demi.
Another challenge coming up from Chuck Waddington.
Well, he saved the last challenge, so why not?
And he's having some fun with the San Francisco State fans. They're talking about whether or not it was touched. One of the Gators fans says, oh yeah, it was touched. Almost in as well, I think.
Great deep corner swing. That's aggressive, just going for that shot.
A lot of stopping and starting here in the 4th. Chuck Waddington's had a good day with challenges. And that day continues. It is healthy banter between him and the fan base for the Gators sitting behind the Angelo State bench. Basically going back and forth, talking about what they saw during each challenge. 18-12 the score. Center attack by DeBoer, doesn't work. Parrish got to it. Parker kept up by Woolley. DeBoer on the outside for Isaac. One-handed dig for Woolley. The swing is a kill for Carter. Nice dig during that play by Woolley, the senior.
Yeah, there's great defense all over the floor. I don't think I've seen anybody defend that little flip dump from DeBoer in the whole tournament. And Angelo made some exceptional plays to keep this rally going.
Woolley sends it to DeBoer. In the middle for Parker. Tools the block of Torres. Side out Gators. They can feel it. 6 points away here in the fourth, winning this match and going to the championship. Kimberly DeBoer will drive it across to Parrish. Ortman in the middle for Spencer, who's had a big day.
So Angelo State can't stay in the side-out game going back and forth with San Francisco State. They've got to get some points off serve now, so their objective has to be to play tough defense and keep their server back there, even if just for a point or two.
Ireland Ferguson, the server, out of Venice, Florida. Just gets it over the tape. Out of system, Wilson will roll it. Enax, Ortman on the outside for Torres, who uses the block.
And that tough serve created an easy ball for the Bells to be able to run great transition offense there. So this is how you chip away at a lead.
Let's see if Ferguson can serve tough again. Reception for Isaac. Wilson blocked away by Torres.
And they handled that pass well. That's relatively in system for Kimberly DeBoer. Just a great block by the Bells.
Matt Hoffman again trying to silence an Angelo State run. He has used both timeouts relatively early as we get a second look at the block by Torres.
I can't say enough about that set by Kimberly DeBoer. Like when she gets that tight ball and faces the net and sets it, that's next level.
Big edge and blocks for Angelo State today. They have 10, 5.5 for San Francisco State. And the grit that Chuck Waddington always talks about, it's starting to really show up again late in a match. We've seen this story before for Angelo State.
Yeah, it'll be just interesting to see if they have enough left in the tank to extend this to a fifth set. And if I'm San Francisco State, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, you know, they've kind of chipped away at our lead, but we still, it's 6 before, I'm trying to do quick math here, 9, you know, and we've really got to stay focused on that 1 point at a time. And they need to do the opposite. They need to side out quick each time that the Bells are back at the service line.
Mental toughness will come into play late in matches, especially on the national stage. Chuck Waddington referred to that a lot this week. This team is mentally tough. They trail by 3 in the fourth, down 2-1. Our ball gathers on a dive. Isaac pushes it off the block, can't get it over. Isaac tips it, Enax out of nowhere. Torres the push. One-handed set by DeBoer. Ferguson keeps it up. Tiptoes around Enax. Swing by Isaac. Torres denied. Ortman leaning back. Parrish out of the back row. DeBoer to DeBoer to Isaac, who tips it in.
That was textbook patience as an attacker. I believe Isaac took every swing on San Francisco's side of the net, and you know, she waited till the right time and she didn't get in a rush and error.
The dig from Brianna DeBoer, the assist from Kimberly DeBoer, and kill number 15 for Isaac. Gators the first to 20 in the fourth. Enax passes for Ortman. Torres over the blocker. Tied to the near pin, and Wilson taps it down. No swing for Torres. Lead is 6 for San Francisco State.
It's a tough serve, and then Ortman just left that ball a little too far inside for Torres.
Both head coaches have burned all their timeouts. None left. All you can do is challenge the rest of the way. Spencer off the block.
She's really made some clutch plays in this fourth set.
6 kills for Spencer. 0 errors, 8 attacks. Once again, the depth in the middle has been on full display all week for Angelo State. Perez flies it across to DeBoer. Goodrich dug out by Enax. Parrish down the near line.
This is all about the speed of the Bells offense. It's so fast. Blocks in the wrong spot.
Goodrich out of system. Go with left-handed tip. Now Goodrich can swing. Enax digs. Spencer trying to win the joust. Parrish attacks, uses the block. 2 in a row for Maddie Parrish.
Such a great swing. She got no approach. She just threw her feet back and made sure she kept that ball in front of her and attacked the block.
Wilson lets it rip. Perez, the sophomore, digs it. Hit by Goodrich. Parrish. 3rd in a row for Parrish.
I don't think I've seen 2 more clutch swings out of Parrish in 2 days.
Playing like a second-team All-American now. Goodrich through the seam. Over a dig by Enax. Isaac. DeBoer back to Goodrich. Uses the block.
I mean, that's the first swing we've seen San Francisco State take off the top of the block in a long time. And it's a smart shot because the Bells have been digging everything.
Passed by Ferguson. Outside for Parrish. Wide right. Match point for San Francisco State. The 7th seed. Bales on the service line. Sends it to Perez. Parrish out of the reach of Isaac. Angelo State stays alive.
I love that swing. She just erred being aggressive, and she didn't come back and play safe. She went for a big-time swing there down the line. She's fighting.
Enax to DeBoer. Goodrich over a dig by Perez. Back to Goodrich. Enax the overpass. The tip for Goodrich, dug out by Parrish. Parrish out of the middle. Double block there for the Gators. Back to Parrish, who rolls it in. Creative shot by Parrish.
Can the Gators survive Maddie Parrish is the question.
She's at her best right now. Playing like a second-team All-American. Chuck Waddington checking on his sub situation. For the first time today, he's going to bring in Kyla Garnett.
Okay, he just took Ortman off the floor, so he's looking for a bigger block out there on the right side, but that means there's no true setter on the floor. They've clearly got someone else who's going to set.
A little bit unconventional, but it's worked before for Angelo State.
I mean, that's smart because if I'm San Francisco State, I'm going after Ortman on the block.
Garza from the middle, she gets a touch. The magical season continues. San Francisco State will play for a national title tomorrow.
Adam, this is a team that just earned their first NCAA tournament win this year. And they're going to play for the national championship.